Hey everyone, Luke here, and what can I say? As much as I'm not a particular big fan of the anime with the way it's been going, I must say I am grateful for it actually coming along because it's given me something like to talk about in terms of an anime format, and also it's given me a pleasure of introducing new people to the series, new faces to the series, and also coming to me and finding out my opinion on where the series is with the anime and the manga. So I'm grateful for the anime for that, but still, that's not going to excuse it from getting the criticism that, in my opinion, it's getting at the moment. And there are good things about it. I'm not trying to dwell on people or get people not interested in the series. It's still, in terms of like other anime, it's still a good anime. It's just comparing it to the manga is better. And I know that's just me being like, oh, the original source material is better, but in this case it is, because there's still a lot of things that have been cut out, particularly, like I said, the reveal of Mama being the cattle as well. That's something that really should have been included and could have been included and would have been a really great moment to include, but then again, that's just the way it is. So let's just get right to the comparison. Now in episode 4, again, there's not really much for me to actually complain about. It's just a case of like there's not really anything that I can really get too angry at, as opposed to other things that have happened. I mean, what they've kept in has been really, really good, and that's the thing that's confusing about this series. Like, what they want to keep in is really, really good. What they adapt is really, really good. It's just the little things that they leave out. It just like that just irks me. And anyway, let's get on to it. Episode 4, it picks up like right in the middle of chapter 10. So at this point in episode 4, we're up to chapter 10, and it cuts out a lot of the conversation between Isabella and Crone, and that's a good. And I'm not against that. I'm not against things being cut out. Things have to be cut out. I understand that because it's an adaptation. You've got to cut out some things, but cutting out like really important plot points is just like really, and they did a really good job with what they actually kept in, but it's just cutting it down to the bare basics. Just like really irks me in certain places, and particularly cutting out cutting out this bit right here with Crone, which is like getting pissed off with Mama and going, did she purposely give me an opening just for this? Showing that Crone is smart and demonstrating like, okay, she can pick up on things that Mama is doing for her deliberately, and I'm just like, really, they're going with that. And also, now I don't know whether this was a substitution for it, but again, they add a bit in with Crone's creepy doll, and I'm not sure if this is like to be like the substitute for the inner thoughts. Like the series has a allergy against inner thoughts, and they just have to have it like, okay, we're not going to have the inner thoughts, but we're going to have like the characters speaking their mind, speaking it out loud to a creepy doll out in the open, where Mama could just easily walk past and be like, okay, so Crone's being like this, okay, Grandma, I need you to come in and deal with her. Now, I'm not saying the creepy doll isn't a good device, because I think it's a really good device, and it's just that doll is like, it's creepy in its own right. Like, that doll is really, really creepy, and the tension that's just built in that moments with Crone and her doll, those are really, really good. I just wish that they could have kept in the thing, they could have kept it in, but like her just like thinking whilst looking at the door, just thinking about what's going on and showing us through flashbacks as well. And that's another thing. The series seems to have a problem with flashbacks as well. Like, we get a lot of flashbacks from different perspectives in the manga that we don't touch upon in the anime, and I don't know why that is the case in certain regards. Now, one thing that was actually cut as well was Emma thinking about the traitor as well, like just thinking about like, oh, there's a traitor in our mix, and can I actually trust anyone? And maybe that person just loves Mama so much and is being a good kid and is accidentally telling Mama. That must be it. Like, just showing that, cutting out that bit as well. Just again undermines Emma's character. The fact that even though she thinks that there may be a traitor, she still cannot accept it as well. And it's just like her idea that it's like, no, they're accidentally just giving out the information. It might be generally accident, and it's again undermining the dilemma that could be going through Emma's mind that really this series absolutely needs. And one thing that I found that was just like really confusing as well is why didn't they keep in this bit here with the image of just Emma just imagining all the kids going into the demon's mouth and just being eaten as well. I thought that might have been a really good creepy image that they could have easily had in the episode as well, but again they just cut it out. And I don't know whether this is like to undermine the horror aspects and keep it more subtle rather than being outright horror like in the manga. But if that's the case, I can understand why they're doing it. But again, like I said, it's just because I'm such a fan of the series and I want like most of the aspects to be animated. It's just like really disappointing when things actually get left out for me personally. And again, cutting out that bit with the demon, with the children going into the demon's mouth, again undermines Emma's own philosophy of the fact that she wants to escape with everyone, and it just driving in that image of just she wants everybody to escape and everybody to live a happy, fulfilling life. And she says it right here. It's like, no, I can't leave anyone else behind. And you can see that she's actually shivering, showing that even though she knows, even though she has that resolve to save everyone, she knows that it's scary to think that there could be someone out there who's being a willing agent for the demons themselves. And again, cutting out that bit from the episode just kind of undermines Emma's own personality and shows her motivation of why she wants to do what she does, even though she stated it before, like she wants to escape with everyone. It's just the fact that we keep on getting those constant reminders that if they don't all escape, they all get eaten, and like Emma is just someone that wouldn't accept that one bit. Okay, so another change from the episode is this bit right here where Ray is talking about manipulating information when they're actually discussing the idea of getting Don and Gilda involved with the situation and saying, like, if there is a spy, we can use that person as our trump card and they can manipulate information and confuse the enemy, and it's not impossible to create a situation that works in their favour. And the reason why this is such an important line of dialogue for Ray and Norman's character is again because it just shows the greyness of this world. Like, no, they're not just these perfect kids who have these like really like, okay, this is their only personality. Like Ray's the emo guy, Norman's the Mary Sue guy, and Emma's just like the naive, happy-go-lucky little girl. No, the fact that they showing like their smart initiative and how they can manipulate information to their advantage shows that they're just as devious as the enemy themselves. And it's like that moral grey area. Like, yes, they are little kids and they are pure of heart, but also they can be just as morally grey as well, and they can manipulate information and manipulate events so that they have an advantage when dealing with the enemy, and like putting on a facade in order to gain information so that they can like backstab the enemy in the end. And again, by taking that out, it just takes away like just that little bit of aspect of their personality and characters that makes them as unique as they are in the manga. And another thing that I found like really disappointing that they cut out again is Norman again thinking back on his failure as well. Like here saying, I was naive, I underestimated her, I can't stay like this, I need to change, think from the beginning, what is my strategy? I'm going to protect Emma, I'm going to help everyone escape, I will not lose to Mama anymore. And we get like this really creepy image in the manga of Norman's just like brash determination to save everyone, not just Emma but everyone as well, but also like his psychotic nature of going that far to save them. And this part, and one of these parts here like got my friend Sid thinking that Norman may turn out to be the bad guy. And as we've seen in the previous chapters, not the chapter that's recently come out, the one before that, that may be the case that Norman is going over the edge and being more psychotic than what he was in Gracefield House. But this image right here was kind of like the starting point of like maybe Norman may turn out to be the bad guy as well. And again, like I said, taking away this from the episode just kind of takes away from Norman's character as well. Like I said, he's not just this Mary Sue perfect character who can think of everything. And the fact that he's able to admit his failures shows that he still has room to grow as well as a person and as a character as well. And by taking away this from the episode, just takes away from that as a whole of Norman's like dilemma of like, yes, he has lost, but he's more determined than ever to come back from this failure and try again and try harder. Okay, so now we'll move on to chapter 11 now. Now, before we get into it, there was one part in chapter 10 that they skipped over, but again, this was actually added in later, so like it feels like it's part of chapter 11. Now, I don't know whether this was like to make it seem more seamless in the grand scheme of things, or that they thought like, oh crap, we need to keep that in, so let's just put it here. But again, that may just be like something that they decided to make it more seamless, so they added it in a bit later. But see, this is the thing with the anime, it's like they change little things around to make the anime seem more seamless, but when you actually stop and think about it, it's like, wait a second, why didn't they mention this before, or why did they mention it now? It's like, it's just those little things that just get turned around that may seem like seamless, but when you stop and think about them, it's like, wait a second, they could have mentioned this here, but instead they mention it here. But then that's just me being extremely nitpicky. But I just wanted to bring that up because again, it feels like I have to keep like, oh wait, now I've got to cross this bit out because it came in here. But again, that's just me being incredibly nitpicky. But one thing I'm not being nitpicky on here is the fact that they do have another tag game, but the fact that they cut out all of Emma's suspicions of the others makes the scene feel a bit more shallow, because again, she wants to believe that everyone is innocent, but at the same time she can't help but think like there is a traitor and it could be anyone. And we get it here where she's like thinking like, could it be Nate, Toma, Limey, Anna, Dawn, Gilda, like who can it be? And again, the fact that they cut that bit out just makes the scene feel more shallow, because again, like a show, like even though Emma is the protagonist and she has a lot of traits that make her a good protagonist, she has a lot of traits that make her a unique protagonist in the fact that she has to be suspicious of those around her, even the ones that she absolutely loves and cares for deeply as a family. She has to think like, no, there is a chance that there could be a traitor amongst them, and I have to be really careful in this regard. So after the bit with the tag game, we pretty much cut straight to the moment where Dawn and Gilda are actually being told about what's been going on with the... they're not actually told the whole truth, just told that they're being sent away for human trafficking and that Mama is the one behind it all. But before we get to that, they cut out like a big chunk of information, discussing more of the strategy of Mama, and thinking like how they want to outwit her, and they've got to make a lot of preparations and make a lot of strategies, and how Mama has no intention of hiding the existence of her source of information, and how she's being very clever with her strategies by saying like, yes, I have these things, but that's not gonna prevent you guys from escape. That's not gonna give you a guaranteed victory. And the fact that they're thinking like, okay, Mama is showing us this stuff, but she's doing it in a way to show that she is one step ahead of us, and she knows that that it's a pretty good idea that it is us, but she's playing it like a manipulative chess master. Like she wants them to follow their own plans, but at the same time she's one step ahead of them and already making plans herself. And the fact that they're discussing this and how to outwit her again shows like shows the clever strategy and initiative that these three have developed over the years compared to where they were when they had a chess game with Mama back when they were little, that got cut out from the end of episode 2 when Chrome was introduced. But I digress. That's just a general nitpick, and I don't know whether they cut that in order to be like, okay, I feel like we need to do a more show don't tell kind of thing here. So I feel like that the fact that we can cut this down to the bare minimum, or just cut it out in general, it might help to make the anime run a bit more smoother, which I can understand in that regard. But again, it would be nice to actually just see these things animated and then just give us like more of an idea of like, okay, they're playing the mind games, because that's the thing that's like really being lacking on the anime itself, the mind games itself, like what made this arc so good to begin with. Like we had the mind games, we had them all thinking out the fair strategies, like, okay, we've got to outwit Mama because she's outwitting us, so we've got to outwit her even more. We've got to like come up with these plans and everything and think like, okay, we'll carry out the escape plan 10 days from now, and isn't that a bit too soon? And Mama's objective is control us. That means we don't make a move, she won't either. Does that mean we have time? And yeah, that's exactly what I want, why I want to move quickly. It looks like that to us. Mama seems it that way. I want to outwit her. Either way, I want to escape before winter comes. No, it's not like we're doing that suddenly. We did prepare a lot in a hurry, including training, because we couldn't read Mama's strategy. So we just had to take care of the necessary things in the remaining 10 days. Again, showing like, okay, yeah. We know that we don't know Mama's strategy, but we've got to be one step ahead of her in the same way that she's always a step ahead of her in this regard. And again, cutting out this, like, again, just cuts out like a big chunk of what made the arc so good to begin with, the mind games and the constant back and forth cat and mouse game that they had with Mama. Now, in terms of that, the actual going to confront Don and Gilda and tell them about what's been going on, or at least tell them their version of events about what's going on, the entire conversation is actually cut from the stairs in favour of it just adding more tension of just like who is going to what room, and it goes on for a long time when they could have easily just had it in as they're going up the stairs, because it's a very important device on their part, particularly on Emma's character. Like, they're not going to tell Don and Gilda the truth because they don't want to put them in danger, and Mom isn't making a move because they haven't shown that because we haven't shown that we know, essentially. But if someone feels it, she might ship out that person right away, and I have every intention to succeed in escaping. But even if they fail, they don't know the truth, and they might be able to live. And that's Emma's resolve in this regard. And she's like, they can call me a liar. I don't care if they hate me straight afterwards that I have tricked them. But there's no point in that if they get killed by Mom before the demons. And now's not the time to tell them the truth. Again, showing like the grayness of this area. Like, Emma, despite being the protagonist, despite being a fun-loving and caring character, she can be just as manipulative as everyone else around her. And the fact that she's manipulating Don and Gilda in order, even though she has a good reason for it, like she's doing it for their safety, she still feels guilt about doing it, and she knows that it's not the truth, and she knows that she's being in the wrong here, and she knows that she's lying to them. And I feel like that's an important lesson for people to take away. Like, sometimes lying is important in order to protect people's feelings, even though you may think that even though you may feel guilty about it, it's still sometimes the right thing to do and the right thing in certain situations. Like, particularly in this situation where where the fact that they're being shipped out to be food for demons, and again, even though Emma may feel like she's in the wrong here, it's kind of like a battle in her mind. Like, she wants it to be the right thing, but she knows as well that it's the wrong thing that she's doing here, and she may feel guilt, and she may feel upset later on when Don and Gilda do find out, and eventually they do feel guilty about this, and they do get a talking down to by Don and Gilda, which I'm hoping does come up in the next episode, particularly with how the chapters and the episodes are going. I feel like this moment will be brought up, that they've actually been lied to, if not in the next episode, then in the episode after. And again, cutting out this like whole conversation on the stairs cuts out a bit of Ray's own characterization and own aspects of his own personality, different aspects of his personality coming out. Because again, here it's like he's being shocked and looking like really like, well, Emma would do something like this. Again, showing that Ray is not just this cardboard Carl emo type person who's just like this cold-hearted bastard, even though he technically is at this point in the series. The fact that he's able to show different emotions and actually able to feel like he's being shocked as well, again, just shows like the three-dimensional aspects to his character as well, which makes him and other characters in the series a far much more broader broader characters in terms of personality and how three-dimensional they can be. Now, in terms of the actual conversation that they have with Don and Gilda, one aspect that I did actually like is Ray's position in the actual episode. In the manga, he's sort of like on the same level of everyone, but in the anime, he's sort of like high up on shelves, just looking down on everyone. Now, even though I love this position, it kind of gives away the fact that he is a traitor, because he's kind of like looking down on everyone and being like, I know something that these guys don't, and I am better than them. And it's like just hammering like, no, Ray's the traitor because he's in this position, he's on a level different from everyone else, and showing like he knows more than what he's letting on in this regard. Now, the conversation itself, the conversation with Don and Gilda, pretty much goes the way it was in the manga, so I'm happy that they at least kept some aspects in. And again, this is what I mean by the series. Like, if they had more time and more episodes, they could have included everything in that would have made this a really, really good adaptation. I mean, a phenomenal adaptation instead of just a decent adaptation. I mean, it's still a good adaptation. It's better than most adaptations get of particular manga. Now again, another thing that's like changed around is the flashback conversation between Ray and Norman about where Norman is actually going to hide the ropes and sort of trick Ray into revealing like, okay, he is the traitor. Again, this is cut to the to after the conversation with Don and Gilda. Now, I don't know if this was like to just make it seem more seamless in terms of the anime, without having the notion of having flashbacks within an episode to conversation that could have happened previously. Maybe that was the case with where they actually put that little conversation between Norman and Ray about where the ropes are actually going to be hidden. But again, because it's like being changed around, I have to include it in here. Now, one thing that was actually that was actually kind of disappointed in is the actual thoughts of Crone when Gilda goes to confront Crone about what's been going through her mind, and the fact that they cut out like these images right here of Crone just actually thinking about all the things that are going on and how it's pissing her off, and particularly this image right here. That could have really just been in the episode as well. And again, just showing how demented and psychotic Crone can actually be in certain situations. But the fact that they're cutting out just again cuts out like the inner struggles of the characters or the inner turmoils of the characters, and how they're keeping secrets from everyone. And again, added to the more grey area of the series. Like, no, they're not just spurting out things just for the sake of it. They're actually keeping things to themselves, to like give off illusions to other characters, just in case like it turns out like, oh, there's something going on with this character. Okay, I need to be secretive, and I need to be sneaky around them. And again, just the fact that cutting out is again undermining certain aspects of characters and just making like cardboard cut out characters as opposed to what they are in the actual manga. Now, another thing that's cut out as well is Emma's declaration of the fact that Gilda is actually on her side, and the happy nature that Gilda was not a spy to begin with. And also, another thing that's actually cut out is actually the mind game. Again, with the mind games being cut out, it just undermines a lot of Gilda's unnervingness, especially around Sister Crone when Crone's giving her all those creepy faces and she's going, "What? She found out. What should I do?" And again, even though it is shown in the actual episode itself through the music and the tension being built up, the fact that we're just getting like that unnervingness through the voice as well, that would have just added so much to the episode, showing like Gilda is being drawn into more than she could have ever possibly imagined, in the same way that Emma and Norman were when they first found out about the demons as well. And the fact that Gilda is just being brave and standing strong despite this obstacle being put up in front of her, shows just how much courage she actually has, which you need courage in this series in order to survive. And again, cutting out the mind games cuts out Emma's part here as well. Even though Emma's on the other side of that door listening in like she was in the manga, the fact that we're not hearing her inner thoughts, again, cutting out the mind games and sort of like Emma being Gilda's conscious in this regard, again showing now that Emma knows that Gilda's on her side, the trust that she immediately just instills on Gilda, that she's not actually going to crack and break and tell Crone what's been going on. Again, showing that how important the mind games are to this series, and the fact that they're cutting it out in favour of just adding music and tension to the scene just really undermines the characters themselves. Even though the music and the tension is built up spectacularly, the fact that they could have added in the mind game and just the inner thoughts of the characters, that just would have been like the icing on the cake. And another thing that's cut out in favour of just a hug and a cry is Emma actually Emma actually apologising to Gilda as well for ever doubting her again. Showing just what makes Emma such a good protagonist, even though she suspected Gilda, when she actually did find out, she learnt the error of her ways and was actually apologetic to Gilda herself and realised, like, I've made a mistake and I'm sorry for ever doubting you. Again, showing that Emma can just instill this trust in people regardless of what they've actually done and what they could have potentially done. But the fact that she actually found out Gilda was not a spy, she actually knew, like, okay, I need to apologise right away now. There's no excuse for me. I made a mistake. I've got to live up to that mistake and admit when I was wrong. And the fact that they just cut this out in favour of a cry and a hug, again, it gets the same impression across, but it just doesn't have the impact that it would have had if Emma was just like, I'm so sorry for ever doubting you. Now, in terms of the rest of the episode, it pretty much goes by verbatim. They're talking about various things that happen, although it cuts out the bits of in terms of like Norman actually spraying powder and getting footprints down and finding out that Crone is acting alone and thinking like maybe they can use that to the advantage. But aside from that, everything else plays out pretty much the same as it does in the manga, aside from a few little bits being cut and changed here and there, and it ends with Norman confronting Ray and finding out that he is the actual traitor, which again, I kind of figured that that's where this episode was going to end, and I feel like the next episode is going to end with Don and Gilda actually finding out the actual truth of the matter, or it's going to end with Emma, Ray and Norman finding out about William Minerva, because William Minerva has to be mentioned at some point. He has to come in, if not in the next episode, then the episode after. If that's the case, I feel like the next episode would end with Don and Gilda getting the key to Mara's place and being like, let's see what's inside, let's see what's actually being hidden. And the episode after that is them being confronted of the fact that that they're not being trafficked, they're being sent to be food for demons. I feel like that's going to come into play, and I really want the conversation between Don and Gilda, Ray, Norman and Emma to be like just as phenomenal as it was in the manga when Don just punched out Norman and Ray and was going to punch Emma for actually lying to them, and again adding more depth to his character. But again, like I said, not really much to get angry at in this episode. I mean, there were a few little bits that were cut out and changed here and there, but I feel like that was just for the sake of the anime rather than doing a proper adaptation of the manga. And maybe that's just for the best in some regards. I feel like after not revealing Mama's number for this long, I feel like that's just I feel like if they did include that, they would have included that right away if they were gonna make it so that Mama and Crone were casted as well. But again, that's just something I've got to take away from this. And again, like I said, I am grateful that the anime came along because it's gotten more people into the series and it's got them talking about things, and hopefully the anime will get people to read the manga and think like, okay, these are the differences that weren't in the anime and weren't in the manga, and maybe they will find out about the twist that Mama and Crone are actually cats themselves, and maybe that's for the best that this anime came around. But again, like I said, I wanted this anime to be like just like a really phenomenal adaptation instead of a good adaptation, and it's just a good adaptation at this point. It's not perfect. There are a lot of problems with it, but again, it's not as bad as some other adaptations, and maybe that's just for the best. But anyway, guys, hope to see you again in the coming days when I review chapter 121, because that chapter, I'm still on debate of whether I like it or not.